Hello again, everybody. Andrew Rogers here for TST Total Sports Talk. Thank you very much for joining me. As always, it's a pleasure to be back with you, and thank you very much for tuning in to this week's episode of TST Total Sports Talk. It's Season 2, Episode 4. Yeah, Episode 4. They're coming in like crazy, and you know what? I love the sports world because it never stops moving, and it never stops turning, and it's a very exciting time right now. I mean, we're in October already, and the sports just keep on coming. I mean, hockey's right around the corner. Leafs start their season in one day. They go into Winnipeg to face off against the Winnipeg Jets. That's going to be incredible. We'll talk about that more later in the Maple Leafs report. We got the Saugeen Shores WINterhawks. They're exactly 5 days away from starting their season. Saturday, October the 7th, over the Thanksgiving long weekend, as part of Hockey Day in Kincardine against the Ripley Wolves just after 5 p.m. at the Davidson Center in Kincardine. That'll be an amazing tilt. We got all the roster lineups as well as this week's debut of the Get to Know Your Winterhawk player profile featuring Gord Lamont, the president of the Winterhawks. Very excited about that. So we got that going on. We got week number 4 in the NFL to touch on. Lots of good games this past week. A lot of key injuries that we're following to get you up to speed on, and we'll tee you up for week number 5, which brings in the bye weeks for the first time in the NFL. Always makes it tricky for when you're playing fantasy football. We'll also touch a little bit on the Major League Baseball story. The Major League Baseball playoffs start officially Tuesday night again between the New York Yankees and the Minnesota Twins. They'll be the first wild card matchup in the American League. We'll touch on all that. American League, National League. We'll also recap who won all the major statistical leaders for both the American League and the National League. It's mostly Giancarlo Stanton, Charlie Blackmon, Jose Altuve, to name a few, and as well as Aaron Judge makes an appearance there. So we'll touch on that in the Major League Baseball story. We're also going to talk about the Owen Sound Attack in the OHL. The Owen Sound Attack had a terrific weekend this past weekend, winning 2 games after dropping their first against the Flint Firebirds the week before. We'll touch on all of that. We'll recap everything that's happened there. As well, we're going to touch on the NHL story, the Toronto Maple Leafs. Like I said, yeah, they're coming up. They're gonna play the Winnipeg Jets in one day, Wednesday, October the 4th. They trimmed down their roster. We'll give you all the details there. What we're also going to do is talk about the NBA. The Toronto Raptors opened up officially the preseason, and they did it with a bang. They had 7 players scoring double figures. We'll touch more on the Toronto Raptors and the whole NBA story as well coming up in our show today. And finally, we got the TST Sports Movie Pick of the Week. Very excited about that. It should be a dandy episode, folks. Stick around. We'll be right back after this for Hawk Talks. You don't want to miss this one. Trust me. We'll be right back on the other side of the break. You are watching TST Total Sports Talk. TST Total Sports Talk presents Hawk Talk, brought to you by Gord's Imprints and Design. New location opening at 685 Goderich Street in downtown Port Elgin in the fall of 2017. Visit www.gordsimprints.com for more. Welcome back, everyone, to TST Total Sports Talk. Andrew Rogers back here with you as always. This is Hawk Talk for Season 2, Episode 4 of TST Total Sports Talk. It's like I say, 5 days left to go before the season starts. The Saugeen Shores WINterhawks opened their season on the road, technically on the road, in Kincardine at the Davidson Center against the Ripley Wolves. It's part of Hockey Day in Kincardine. A little bit of background here. It's going to feature the Kincardine Minor Hockey Association going toe-to-toe against the Saugeen Shores Minor Hockey Association all day long, starting at 9 a.m. They're going to be playing games from all levels. It's going to conclude with the Saugeen Shores WINterhawks against the Ripley Wolves just after 5 o'clock, followed by the evening tilt, the main event. The Kincardine Bulldogs Junior C team is in action, and should be a dandy there, no doubt. But yeah, it's going to be a fantastic day. If you can make it out to the Davidson Center in Kincardine, you're not going to want to miss it. It's going to be a phenomenal battle between the Saugeen Shores WInterhawks and the Ripley Wolves, who are no slouch. The team announced their roster. It features 25 returnees and 5 new players. Here's how the roster shakes down. Here is the roster for your 2017-2018 Saugeen Shores WInterhawks. At forward, number 4, Chris King. Number 6, Justin Ainsley. Number 8, Brendan Hafling. Number 9, Brian Kazarian. Number 12, Jay Thompson. Number 14, James McCaig. Number 16, Andy Mitchell. Number 17, Andy Fraggs. Number 20, Blake Underwood. Number 21, Connor Patton. Number 25, Jeff McDermott. Number 27, Brent McDermott. Number 28, Curtis Johnston. Number 37, Lachlan Elder. Number 41, Chris Menard. Number 44, Adam Little. Number 91, Trent Hawk. And number 97, Alex Kuntz. On defense for the Saugeen Shores WInterhawks. Number 5, Jacob Brown. Number 7, the captain of your Saugeen Shores WInterhawks, Greg Tatey. Number 15, Mike Smales. Number 19, Nick Quaid. Number 22, Brett Brophy. Number 24, Trevor Smith. Number 29, Josh Hopkin. Number 50, Shelby Simmons. And number 67, Eric Anetta. In goal for your Saugeen Shores WInterhawks for the 2017-2018 season, number 30, Matt Tooten. Number 31, Richard Harris. And finally, number 34, the co-MVP of last year's WInterhawks season, in between the pipes, Jeff Flagler. If I was any team in the WOA Senior Men's League that had to face this Saugeen Shores WInterhawks team, I'd be fearing for my life because they are going to be very strong. You think this team was bad going 18-1-1 last season? They will only be that much more better. I'm not going to say they're going to go undefeated, but this team is probably very likely going to equal that amount in that total from last year. With all those returning guys and the 5 added additions, they're going to be tough. They're going to be tough. You add in Chris Menard coming over. He's a former NHLer. He brings loads of experience. He brings an incredible presence. He won the Stanley Cup in 2008 with Pittsburgh Penguins, a loaded team. He's played with Crosby, Malkin. He's played with all these guys. He's been around these guys. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's talking about. He will only add to this team's incredible depth. Okay, so for feature program on Hawk Talk, as starting today, debuting on the show for the first time is our WInterhawks player profile. Now we're going to continue to profile all the players that you've seen on the roster, and we're going to start that today with this week's episode, or this week's feature of for Hawk Talk and the TST player profile. Is our feature is Gord Lamont, the president of the Saugeen Shores WInterhawks. Enjoy.
My name is Gord Lamont. I am the president of the Saugeen Shores WInterhawks. I currently reside in Saugeen Township, just outside of Port Elgin. It's an honor for me. I think it's a great organization, and we do a lot of things for the community, as well as providing hockey for the locals and for the team, for the players. I think it's more than just a hockey team. I think we've proven that over the year, and it's a well-organized team, and I'm honored to be on the executive. I think this year, we have a realistic. Last year we finished first, and we have have basically the same team. We lost a few, but gained a few, and gained some good ones. So I think realistically we should be running for the first place overall. I don't know a lot. I know that they've asked for a year's leave of absence, and that's the only thing I know for sure. I'm assuming that it's because they're short of players. I don't know that, but I'm assuming they are. So that's really all I know about it. I don't think so. I think it just means one less team, but it's we'll still play the same number of games. I don't think it'll affect us, other than it's one good team that we don't have to play.
Sure.
But and that's not what we're looking for. We would love to have them stay in the league, but we're not looking for the easy games or anything like that. But I don't think it'll have any effect on how things turn out for us.
Fair. Okay, former NHLer and Port Elgin native Brett McLean drafted in the second round, 32nd overall in the 07 draft. What team?
Arizona.
Phoenix.
Phoenix. That's
Phoenix
right.
Coyotes, right.
Yeah.
That's good. Which Canadian NHLer scored the golden goal in the 2010 Winter Olympics in Vancouver?
That was Sidney Crosby.
Sidney Crosby.
That's
very
right.
Good, very good. Wayne Gretzky holds the record for most goals in an NHL season. How many did he score?
Oh, wow. I don't know. I'll guess 114.
92. 92 is the record. In the 96 finals, Colorado Avalanche won their first Stanley Cup after relocating from Quebec. Which team did they beat?
Wow. I remember there was a big rivalry there with Detroit, so I'll say Detroit.
It would have to be an Eastern Conference team, and it was the Florida Panthers.
Yeah. Okay, right on.
Yeah. How many WOA senior men's championships have the Winterhawks won since they've been back?
4.
4. Good job. And spell the word Zamboni.
Z, not Z. Zamboni.
Terrific. Good job. Final question.
I can't tell you how much it means to me to be part of it. Mostly because my father was very, very involved in the Sunocos team that was here years ago. So it's not that I'm trying to follow in his footsteps, but it's just something that him and I have in common. There was that love for hockey. Neither one of us had much talent for it, but we both had the love for hockey and the love for our community. So it's a huge thing for me. I can't tell you how important it is that I'm just involved some way. So.
Perfect. A phenomenal interview by Gord. He's just a fantastic individual, and yes, he's been the Winterhawks president for as long as the team's been back in inauguration or back in the league since 2007, 2008. And terrific individual. He runs Gord's Pro Shops in the Plex. Does all your skate sharpening, as well as he runs his own business now in Port Elgin. Gord's Imprints and Designs, which is the title sponsor of Hawk Talk. Hope you've enjoyed this segment of Hawk Talk. Like I said, Saugeen Shores WINterhawks go toe-to-toe with the Ripley Wolves this Saturday, October the 7th at David Center, just after 5 p.m. To kick off the season of the WOA Senior Men's League. Saugeen Shores WINterhawks coverage all year long, right here on TST Total Sports Talk. Andrew Rogers, TST Total Sports Talk, Hawk Talk. We'll be right back after this with more. Don't go away. You are watching TST Total Sports Talk. TST Total Sports Talk presents the Owen Sound Attack Report. Welcome back, everybody, to TST Total Sports Talk. Andrew Rogers here with you as always. Thank you very much for joining me, and hope you're enjoying the show. We got the OHL report now. The Attack had a very, very decent weekend, and here is that report. On Friday, September 29th, it was the Owen Sound Attack winning 4-3 over the Kitchener Rangers in overtime. Zach Bauman made 33 saves. Ethan Zapula's first of the season was the winner, 126 in overtime. Attack win 4-3. Kevin Hancock also chipping in with 2 assists to give him 5 points on the season. Saturday, September 30th saw the Owen Sound Attack win again, 6-4 over the Mississauga Steelheads. 3 points each from defenseman Sean Dursey and center Matthew Struthers. The Attack were able to sweep the weekend with a 6-4 win over the Mississauga Steelheads. Zach Bauman is in his 3rd start of the year, stopped 27 of 31 shots for his 2nd victory of the season. The Owen Sound Attack are now 2-0-1 on the season. Yeah, huge couple of games for the Owen Sound Attack. Kevin Hancock has been really good throughout the first 3 games of the season. Gave him 5 points for the first 2. He chipped in with a couple of assists, and Zach Bauman making 33 saves. Just came up huge when they needed him in the 4-3 win over the Rangers on Friday at the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium to win in overtime there, and then they come back on the Saturday with a huge effort at the Bayshore, 6-4 victors over the Mississauga Steelheads. You got to give the credit to Matthew Struthers, big 3-point night for him. And you know what? Zach Bauman again, back-to-back starts. It's a tough duty to be able to pull off back-to-back starts at any level, and he comes up huge. Stops 27 of 31 for the victory. The Attack now moved to 2-0-1, 2 wins and a shootout loss to open the season 3 games in. They look very good though going forward. They look very strong early on. The TST Total Sports Talk Player of the Week is Sean Dursey. Sean Dursey finished with 5 points over the course of the week for the Owen Sound Attack. He looked very strong. Goal and 4 assists. You know what? This guy could be he sounds like the complete package in Owen Sound, and he could be a force going the rest of the way. On a defensive core that is that could be missing Santino Centorame, the captain of the team last year. Jacob Friend now the captain of the on the defense for the Attack. But Sean Dursey, he looks very good. 5 points. It's no slouch. You know what? He's going to be really good, I think, for the Owen Sound Attack going forward. Next up for the Attack is a Wednesday tilt on October the 4th with the visiting Sarnia Sting. No slouch of a team here. They come in hot. In their last 2 games, they've scored a combined 13 goals. This team is going to come in tough, and Owen Sound is going to need to be on their best game to be able to handle the Sarnia Sting team, or else they're going to get pummeled. Now that is their first game of this upcoming week. Their second game goes on Saturday, October the 7th. They're in action as well. They welcome the defending Memorial Cup champion Windsor Spitfires into the Bayshore to face off against your very own Owen Sound Attack. Should be a terrific week of hockey. Sarnia Sting are in town Wednesday. Windsor Spitfires in town Saturday. Hopefully you can get a couple W's. That would be nice. Or a split, whichever. Either way, if you have a chance, get down to the Bayshore, buy your ticket, watch the Owen Sound Attack. They're going to be phenomenal here on out for the rest of the season. This team is going to be good. They're firing on all cylinders early, and they're getting great goaltending. And really, that's all you can ask at this point in the season. This has been your Owen Sound Attack Report. Andrew Rogers saying stick around. We'll be right back after this. You are watching TST Total Sports Talk. TST Total Sports Talk presents the NHL and the Toronto Maple Leafs report. Andrew Rogers back with you for TST Total Sports Talk. Thank you very much for joining me. As always, it's a pleasure to have you here. We're going to talk about the NHL now and the Toronto Maple Leafs report. The Maple Leafs, they had a phenomenal preseason. They went 5-2-1, unbelievably, in the preseason. They wrapped it up Saturday with a 3-2 shootout loss at the hands of the Detroit Red Wings. Interesting note out of this one, over on a professional tryout opportunity is defenseman Roman Polak. And he played in this game on Saturday. It was his first game action in 5 months. He, of course, suffered a gruesome injury in the Washington series back in April in the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs, Leafs versus the Washington Capitals. He exited, I think it happened in game number 2. He went down, gruesome leg injury, ended up breaking his leg, and it was his first game action in 5 months, and he looked pretty solid. He's over there on a he's in Toronto on a PTO, and he was actually one of the few players to survive the cut that happened on Monday. The Leafs cutting 22 players and putting some on waivers as well. They are down now to 26 players on the active roster. They still need to cut 3 positions. There are 3 extras on the blue line that they have not made a decision on as of yet. Leafs are looking to build, though, on a 26-point improvement from 2 years ago, going 40, 27, and 15 last season, finishing 8th and pushing the Washington Capitals. Really, like they played them superbly. They took 5 of those 6 games that the series went to overtime. And you know what? They almost had them. They really did. They showed they belong there. And it'll be interesting to see how it goes this year. Obviously, they've looked to improve in terms of their experience. They've looked to build from their experience. They've brought in 3 unbelievable leaders and players who exemplify just that. Patrick Marleau, he's come over from the San Jose Sharks. He was over there for 20 years. And you know what? He'll add a whole lot of stability and veteran presence in this very youthful Maple Leafs lineup. Dominic Moore comes over. He'll play 4th line center. And defenseman Ron Hainsey looks to line up opposite Morgan Rielly to start the season. These 3 players, to put it into perspective, have a combined 3,548 regular season and playoff experience. These players will no doubt put a boost of a veteran leadership and presence into this lineup that will show almost immediately, in my opinion. If the 5-2-1 in the preseason is any indication, this Leaf team is going to be very good this year. Now let's have a look, though, at the complete roster that as it stands right now for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Your current roster for your 2017-2018 Toronto Maple Leafs. At forward, Tyler Bozak, Connor Brown, Eric Fair, Zach Hyman, Nazem Kadri, Leo Komarov, Josh Levo, Patrick Marleau, Mitch Marner, Matt Martin, Austin Matthews, Dominic Moore, William Nylander, and James Van Riemsdyk. On defense for your Toronto Maple Leafs, Andreas Borgman, Connor Carrick, Jake Gardner, Ron Hainsey, Timothy Liljegren, Martin Marincin, Roman Polak, Morgan Rielly, Kalle Rosen, and Nikita Zaitsev. In between the pipes for your Toronto Maple Leafs, goaltender Frederick Anderson, and backup goalie Curtis McElhaney. Yeah, so it'll be a real interesting battle on the blue line for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Like I said, they still need to cut 3 players and to trim that roster down to 23. So we'll see which players fall out before they open the season. This Wednesday against the Winnipeg Jets from Winnipeg before they close out the week with their home opener on Saturday, October the 7th against the visiting New York Rangers. This has been the NHL Report and the Toronto Maple Leafs Report. We'll be right back after this. Don't go away. You are watching TST Total Sports Talk. TST Total Sports Talk presents the NFL Report. Andrew Rogers back with you for TST Total Sports Talk. Thank you very much for joining me as always. I hope you've been enjoying the show as much as I have. And they're getting a lot out of it because there's so much information always going on with sports nowadays. It's in full swing. You got so much going on, man. You got hockey, basketball is about to start, NFL's in full swing already. You got the Winterhawks coming up. The OHL is underway. There's so much going on all at once, and I love it. Really, I do, because there's just so much of it, and I'm just trying to make sure that you guys get your fill on all of it. We're going to move now to the NFL report. Week 4 in the NFL. We're going to give you a complete slate of the winners and the complete schedule rundown of the results from week number 4 in the NFL. It was a lot of crazy games, a lot of high scoring, and a lot of incredible performances, individual performances in each one of those games. We're going to give you that report. We'll also tee you up for week number 5. That introduces us to the bye weeks as they finally start. They go from about week 5 to about week I think it's 11 or 12. Each team has one bye, and they go through a cycle of them up leading up. I think it's still about a week 11 or 12 of the NFL season. On a bye in week number 5 are Atlanta, Denver, New Orleans Saints, and the Washington Redskins. Like I say, we'll tee up week number 5 for you, as well as we'll go through all the injuries that we've been tracking in the NFL, and we'll give you some off-the-field notes that you should pay attention to for week number 5. So here are those reports, or here's a report on week number 4, and tee up week number 5.
Here now is your Week 4 NFL recap. Aaron Rodgers went 18 of 26 for 179 yards and 4 touchdowns as Green Bay defeated the Chicago Bears 35-14 this past Thursday night. Green Bay moves to 3-1 while Chicago falls to 1-3. Drew Brees went 29 of 41 for 268 yards and 2 touchdowns as the New Orleans Saints blanked the Miami Dolphins in London 20-0 the final score there. New Orleans moves to 2-2 while Miami slips to 1-2. Charles Clay had 5 receptions for 112 yards as the Buffalo Bills stunned the Atlanta Falcons 23-17. Both teams now sit at 3-1 on the season. Le'Veon Bell rushed 35 times for 144 yards and 2 touchdowns as the Pittsburgh Steelers defeated the Baltimore Ravens 26-9. Pittsburgh moves to 3-1 on the season while Baltimore falls to 2-2. Andy Dalton went 25 of 30 for 286 yards and 4 touchdowns as the Cincinnati Bengals finally got their first win of the season, beating the Cleveland Browns 31-7. Cincinnati now goes to 1-3 while the Cleveland Browns are still winless at 0-4. Todd Gurley had a career day, combining for 215 all-purpose yards. He also had a reception touchdown as the LA Rams defeated the Dallas Cowboys 35-30. LA Rams now move to 3-1 on the season, while the Dallas Cowboys slip to 2-2. Over in Houston, it was Deshaun Watson going 25 of 34 through the air for 283 yards. As well as adding 4 touchdowns and an interception. He also had a rush touchdown as the Houston Texans picked off the Tennessee Titans 4 times in a 57-14 win. Houston now moves to 3-1 while the Tennessee Titans move to 2-2. Amir Abdullah for the Detroit Lions running back had 20 rushes, 94 yards and a touchdown as the Detroit Lions overcame Dalvin Cook's injury for the Minnesota Vikings to defeat them 14-7. Detroit now moves to 3-1 on the season while Minnesota Vikings go to 2-2. Cam Newton had himself a day as he went 22 of 29 through the air, 316 yards and 3 touchdowns while adding an interception. He also had a rush touchdown on the day as Graham Gano kicked a late last-second field goal and the Carolina Panthers came out on top 33-30 over the New England Patriots. The Carolina Panthers are now at 3-1 while New England slips to 2-2. The New York Jets needed a field goal from Chandler Catanzaro, and they had a career day from Bilal Powell, who rushed for 163 yards on 21 carries, and he also had a touchdown as the Jets defeated the Jacksonville Jaguars 23-20 in overtime. Both teams now sit at 2-2. Carson Palmer went 33 of 51 for 357 yards and a touchdown. He also added an interception as the Arizona Cardinals prevailed over the San Francisco 49ers 18-15 in overtime. Arizona now goes to 2-2, while San Francisco is still looking for their first win of the season. They now sit at 0-4. LeGarrette Blount rushed 16 times for 136 yards as the Philadelphia Eagles defeated the LA Chargers 26-24. Philadelphia now moves to 3-1 on the season, while the LA Chargers are at 0-4. Jameis Winston went 22 of 38 for 332 yards and 3 touchdowns as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defeated the New York Giants 25-23. Tampa now moves to 2-1 on the season, while the New York Giants are 0-4. The Denver Broncos had C.J. Anderson rush 20 times for 95 yards as they were able to overcome the very tough Oakland Raider team, defeating them 16-10. Oakland was decimated at the QB position with Derek Carr leaving for injury in this one. They fall to 2-2 on the season, while Denver moves to 3-1. Russell Wilson threw 21 of 26 for 295 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and a rush touchdown as Seattle absolutely obliterated the Indianapolis Colts 46-18. Seattle now moves to 2-2 on the season, while Indianapolis falls to 1-3. And in the Monday Nighter to wrap week number 4, Alex Smith threw 20. He was 27 of 37 through the air, 293 yards and a touchdown. He also rushed 7 times for 56 yards and a touchdown on the ground, as Kansas City remains as the only undefeated team in the National Football League at 4-0, defeating the Washington Redskins 29-20. Washington Redskins moved to 2-2 on the season. Week number 5 in the NFL sees the Thursday Nighter go between the New England Patriots, who are into Tampa Bay, to face off against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. New England's at 2-2, Tampa Bay at 2-1. Starting the Sunday slate of games, we have the Buffalo Bills into Cincinnati to face off against the Cincinnati Bengals. Buffalo's at 3-1, Cincy at 1-3. The New York Jets will look for another win as they are into Cleveland to face off against the winless Browns. New York Jets come in 2-2, while the Cleveland Browns sit at 0-4. Carolina Panthers at 3-1 are into Detroit for a beauty matchup between the 3-1 Detroit Lions. Both teams, like I said, 3-1 should be a fantastic one there. San Francisco 49ers looking for their first win of the season at 0-4 are into Indianapolis to face off against the Indianapolis Colts, who are 1-3 on the season. This one goes Sunday at 1 o'clock. Tennessee Titans bring their 2-2 record into Miami to face off against the Miami Dolphins, who are 1-2 on the season. LA Chargers are 0-4, and they face another 0-4 team in the New York Giants from New York. Both teams looking for their first win of the season. The Arizona Cardinals at 2-2 are into Philadelphia to face off against the Philadelphia Eagles, who are at 3-1 on the season. Finally, our 1 o'clock games on Sunday conclude with the Jacksonville Jaguars at 2-2 into Pittsburgh to face off against the high-powered Pittsburgh Steelers, who are at 3-1 on the season. 4 o'clock games get started in LA as the Seattle Seahawks take their 2-2 record into Los Angeles to face off against the Los Angeles Rams, who are at 3-1. Baltimore Ravens are into Oakland to face off against the 2-2 Oakland Raiders. Question mark there whether or not Derek Carr will for sure miss this game for the Oakland Raiders. He will miss anywhere from 2 to 6 weeks, recovering from a back injury suffered in week number 4. Baltimore and Oakland both sit at 2-2 on the season. Our final 4 o'clock matchup has Green Bay at 3-1 into Dallas to face off against the Dallas Cowboys, who are at 2-2 on the season. Week 5 Sunday Nighter goes in Houston between the undefeated Kansas City Chiefs, who are at 4-0, into Houston to face off against the Houston Texans. They are at 3-1. And finally, our Monday Nighter for week number 5 concludes week number 5. It has the Minnesota Vikings, who are at 2-2, into Chicago to face off against Mitchell Trubisky and the Chicago Bears. The number 2 overall pick takes his Chicago Bears to try and come out on top. Monday night against the Minnesota Vikings, Chicago comes into the game at 1-3. The Week 5 byes include the Atlanta Falcons, the Denver Broncos, New Orleans Saints, and the Washington Redskins.
Yeah, so like I say, a lot of fantastic games, and Week 5 doesn't offer a slouch on the schedule for sure. You know what, about the NFL, it's always entertaining no matter when it is. You can always count on a phenomenal game, and every week there's always a game that sticks out that's just going to be absolutely incredible, and it's going to be the game of the week. NFL injuries. So here's some injuries that we're covering for you. Dalvin Cook of the Minnesota Vikings tore his ACL. He is out for the season. He plays running back for the Minnesota Vikings. He was their ipso facto weapon on the offense, and that is a crushing blow to the Minnesota Vikings, who are already without Sam Bradford. Hopefully they'll get him back soon. But Dalvin Cook will miss the remainder of the season with a torn ACL. They will look now to Jerick McKinnon, and they will also look at Latavius Murray as a two-headed duo on the running back position, but it'll take a mountain of a climb to be able to replace Dalvin Cook and his production. We're also following Derek Carr's situation in Oakland. QB Derek Carr went down with what they're calling a transverse process fracture in his back. The expected recovery time they're saying there is 2 to 6 weeks. So Derek Carr, depending on how fast he can heal and how fast that Oakland wants to bring him in, he will miss some time, and that could be crushing for the Oakland Raiders in what was turning out to be a promising season going into week number 1. But they will miss him dearly, no question about it. E.J. Manuel looks to take over the reins there. He came in relief in Denver, was unable to bring them back in that game. Denver ultimately winning 16-10. Mohamed Sanu has a hamstring injury, and Julio Jones left the game with a hip flexor injury over the weekend. They both have the luxury of a week 5 bye, so they should be able to go in week number 6. We will continue to monitor that situation. Over in Tennessee, QB Marcus Mariota, he left the game with a hamstring injury. He plays for the Tennessee Titans. He was replaced by Matt Castle. Both of them threw for a combined 4 interceptions against the Houston Texans. They only put up 14 points as Houston countered with 57. He is questionable. We don't know his status quite of yet, but we'll continue to monitor that going into their Week 5 matchup. It'll be really interesting to see if he gets a start or if they go with Matt Castle under center for that one. Our final injury that we're monitoring is Jordan Matthews out of Buffalo, wide receiver. He came over from the Philadelphia Eagles in the offseason. He will miss 1 month due to surgery on his thumb to stabilize the digit in the thumb, and he will miss at least a month, they're saying, for Jordan Matthews. That's a huge blow to Tyrod Taylor after they went into Atlanta and defeated the Atlanta Falcons in what was a big upset from week number 4. Moving on now to some other NFL notes, just to keep in mind for you fantasy buffs. Doug Martin of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers has been activated after serving the remainder of his 4-game suspension. He will be eligible to suit up in week number 5, and he is expected to do just that. He's a big boost for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're off to a good start, 2-1, and they look to continue that going into week 5 matchup against the New England Patriots on Thursday. It's going to be absolutely incredible, that game, if Doug Martin suits up and has any sort of flash of brilliance that he had a couple of last season when he put up 1,400 yards for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Final NFL note: Chicago Bears. It comes out of Chicago. They changed their QB situation. They're off to an awful start. They're 1-2, or 1-3. Excuse me. Let me just double check that here. We got Chicago at 1-3. Sorry. So Chicago Bears 1-3. Out is Mike Lennon. He is no longer the starting quarterback there. The starting quarterback is going to be, from here on out, it will be Mitchell Trubisky. He's the second overall pick in this past year's draft, and he will take over at the helm for the Chicago Bears, who need something of a miracle to salvage the season. He will debut week number 5, and as if this wasn't big enough pressure for him to start his first game, it's going to be on Monday night, prime time, in Chicago against the Minnesota Vikings. This will be an unbelievable matchup. It'll be interesting to see how the kid handles the pressure. This has been the NFL Report for TST Total Sports Talk. We'll be right back after this. Don't go away.
You are watching TST Total Sports Talk. TST Total Sports Talk presents the Toronto Raptors and the NBA Report.
Andrew Rogers back here with you for TST Total Sports Talk. Thank you very much for joining me and sticking around as always. I hope you're enjoying the show. I certainly am. It seems to be going well. Yeah, I would say. All right, we're going to move on right now to the NBA report and the Toronto Raptors story. A lot going on. Toronto Raptors officially opened their preseason with a massive win over the Los Angeles Clippers. There was a lot of guys who played in this game. 7 players from the Toronto Raptors finished in double figures. Kyle Lowry leading the way with 17. Norm Powell with 16. Serge Ibaka and CJ Miles. CJ Miles coming over from Indiana. Both got 12. DeMar DeRozan with 11. DeLon Wright also had 11. He chipped in there. Jonas Valanciunas had 10. And Toronto looked very good. I mean, I know it's preseason and everything, but still, you got to appreciate the fact that Toronto Raptors come out. They had 7 guys scoring double figures. If this team can do that throughout the course of the season, they will be very good. Not saying that they'll get all the way to the NBA Finals. That's not what I'm getting at here. Don't jump the gun here now. A win's a win. Preseason win. They look strong. You got to take it for what you can. Now, season starts. Got about 23 days, give or take. October 19th, they start against the Chicago Bulls at the ACC. That's when their season gets kicked off, underway. This Toronto team could be very good. They have the potential. They have the players. It's just a matter of whether or not they run into some teams that will give them a hard time. And you know what? Make it difficult on them. And I fully expect that to happen. Obviously, you have the Boston Celtics and the Cleveland Cavaliers in the East that will give the Raptors fits all season long. Okay, so yeah, speaking of the Cleveland Cavaliers, then more news from the NBA is including that the worst kept secret, we spoke about this on the last episode of TST. Dwayne Wade, who was bought out by the Chicago Bulls, was officially signed by the Cleveland Cavaliers. He joins that powerhouse team there, who also announced that they'll start Kevin Love at center, starting on the first game of the season. See how long they stick with that rotation. But this team is going to be loaded. This team is going to be tough. This team is going to be crazy good. The Toronto Raptors are going to need to pull out every arsenal in their system to be able to take down a Cleveland Cavaliers team in the playoffs if they should get there. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Toronto Raptors, they have the potential. They have the ingredients. I think they could be a playoff team. I don't know if they'll be able to get by the Cavs. Dwayne Wade makes them to another echelon. It's just unbelievable. This player is very talented. Him and LeBron, though, go together like peanut butter and jelly. It's just a natural combination. This team will be phenomenal. The Cleveland Cavaliers will be very tough. The Boston Celtics are in tough, and every other team in the East is on notice. It's going to be an incredible year. I can't wait for it to start. Like I said, October 19th against the Chicago Bulls. Toronto Raptors officially get started. Also announced in the NBA, let's not forget about this. Russell Westbrook of the Oklahoma City Thunder, just days after they acquired Carmelo Anthony from the Knicks, inked a 5-year extension with the Oklahoma City Thunder that'll keep him there for another 5 years. $205 million this contract's for. The irony of all of this, though, is that Russell Westbrook picks Kevin Durant's birthday to announce this new contract. Do I think it's ironic? Yes. I mean, you can't tell me that he doesn't want to rub it in Kevin Durant's face by signing this massive $205 million extension on his birthday. I mean, come on. You can ask him all the time he wants, and he's going to deny. But we all know, okay? You did it because you wanted to rub it in his face. I get it. I would have done the same thing if I would have gotten $205 million. I'm getting nothing for this show, but I'm trying my hardest. Anyways, Russell Westbrook, $205 million over 5 years for the Oklahoma City Thunder. They're going to be a very good team, and the West is loaded. You know what? Thankfully for the Raptors, they play in the East, because if they were playing in the West, they'd finish dead last. No matter how good the team is, it doesn't compare to the teams that are in the West. They're just unbelievable. That's your Toronto Raptors and NBA report for TST Total Sports Talk in this episode. We'll be right back after this. Stick around, folks. Don't go anywhere.
You are watching TST Total Sports Talk. TST Total Sports Talk presents the Major League Baseball Report and Toronto Blue Jays Report.
Welcome back, everybody. Andrew Rogers here for TST Total Sports Talk. Thank you very much for joining me. As always, I hope you're enjoying the show. I certainly am. It's been a good show so far. I feel really confident about this one. We're going to touch now on the Major League Baseball story. The Major League Baseball regular season, came to a wrap this past weekend. The Toronto Blue Jays winning 2-1 over the Yankees in their regular season finale. Big story out of this one that I took was obviously it was the last game that you'll probably see Jose Bautista in a Toronto Blue Jay uniform, considering too that they did announce that they were going to be declining the 2018 option on Jose Bautista's contract. Unsure now as to whether or not Jose will play next year. He certainly seems like he's motivated to do so. It'd be interesting to see if a team decides to take a chance on him. There's no question his play has declined, strongly declined last season. Injuries have obviously caught up to him, and he isn't getting any younger at the end of the day. It'd be interesting to see which team he ends up going on with, if any. The other remaining question is the status of Josh Donaldson. He's a restricted free agent over the season, and he has stated his desire to finish his career in Toronto. It'll just be a matter of numbers and term if they can come to an agreement. I strongly believe that the Toronto Blue Jays need to keep Josh Donaldson. If they are going to remain a competitor next season, if at all, because clearly they weren't, and that's because of a number of reasons. They were devastated by injuries all season long. They didn't have Aaron Sanchez. There's a number of factors. Josh Donaldson will make this team competitive next season. They will rebound from the injuries. That just has to happen. I mean, you can't have 2 bad years when it comes to when you're being decimated by this many injuries. Josh Donaldson will be an integral part of this team being competitive next year. He needs to be in that lineup. You know what? And it's going to depend on the rotation, obviously. You got Stroman, you got Estrada, you got J.A. Happ, and you got Aaron Sanchez. Who knows who's going to be the fifth at this point? Could be Joe Biagini, for all we know. The other thing about this team going forward is going to be, I couldn't believe this when I read it, because I honestly thought I was looking at the number wrong. Roberto Osuna finished second in the American League with 39 saves over the season. He blew 12 of them. He blew 12 saves on top of the 39 that he won. He saved 39 games. If he even saves 6 of those games, it could be a big turnaround in terms of momentum, in terms of winning streaks. This Toronto Blue Jays team could be in a wild card position now if it would have been otherwise of those blown saves. I mean, yeah, they killed him. The 12 blown saves, it was a rough time for Roberto Osuna. He had his ups and downs all season long. He was going through a little bit of a rough stretch there where he was dealing with some anxiety. You feel for the kid. Unbelievable, though, that he was still managed to save 39 on the season. Just incredible, though. For Roberto Osuna, he'll bounce back next year, no question about it. What we want to do real quick, though, is give you a rundown of both the American League and the National League playoffs and their stories, as well as give you a complete recap of the statistical leaders throughout the course of the season that basically ran away with their statistical leadership. We're talking like Carrasco, Kluber. We're talking Alex Colomé. He was the saves leader. So on and so forth. But we're going to break that all down for you. Here's that report.
Here's your Major League Baseball playoff story. Over in the American League in the wild card game, it's 85-77 Minnesota into New York to face off against the New York Yankees, who finished the season at 91-71. The winner will play the Cleveland Indians, who finished with a record of 102-60. This game goes Tuesday at 8 p.m. in New York. The first ALDS matchup has the Boston Red Sox at 93-69 into Houston to face off against the Houston Astros, who finished at 101-61. Game 1 goes in Houston Thursday, October 5th at 4:08 p.m. Eastern Time. The winner of the wild card goes against the Cleveland Indians. Game 1 of that series also goes in Cleveland Thursday, October 5th. This matchup will go at 7:38 Eastern Time. Also in the Major League Baseball story, over in the American League, the wins leaders for the year included from Cleveland, Carlos Carrasco and Corey Kluber, as well as Jason Vargas from the Kansas City Royals, all of which who had 18 wins on the season. The saves leader in the American League was Alex Colomé of the Tampa Bay Rays. He finished the season with 47. Roberto Osuna of the Toronto Blue Jays gets honorable mention here, finishing second in saves with 39. The hits leader for the year was Jose Altuve, finishing with an astounding 204. Home run leader was Aaron Judge. The rookie finished with 52 home runs on the season. RBI leader for the year in the American League was Nelson Cruz out of the Seattle Mariners. He finished with 119. And finally, your average leader in the American League was Jose Altuve, batted a ridiculous .346 on the season. Over in the National League now, the Colorado Rockies at 87-75 are into Arizona to face off against the 93-69 Arizona Diamondbacks. The winner will play the Los Angeles Dodgers in the first round of the National League Divisional Series. Dodgers finished with the best record in the majors at 104-58. This wildcard game goes Wednesday at 8 p.m. in Arizona. The first matchup in the NLDS has the Chicago Cubs at 92-70 into Washington to face off against the Washington Nationals, who finished at 97-65. That first game goes in Washington Friday, October the 6th at 7:31. The winner of the wild card into Los Angeles to face the Dodgers in Game 1 of the NLDS Friday, October 6th as well. All 8 teams in the playoffs are in action on October the 6th. The NLDS matchup of the Dodgers and the winner of the wild card will go at 10:31 Eastern Time. Switching over now to the National League, the wins leader over there was Clayton Kershaw of the Los Angeles Dodgers. He also finished with 18 wins on the season. The saves leaders, we had two, Greg Holland of the Colorado Rockies and Kenley Jensen of the LA Dodgers, both finishing with 41. The hits leader was Charlie Blackmon of the Colorado Rockies, finishing with 212. The home run leader was Giancarlo Stanton. Giancarlo Stanton finished with 59, one short of 60, but has the most home runs in a season going back to some time in the National League this year, finishing with 59. He also finished first in RBIs with 132. Giancarlo Stanton, 132 RBIs, your leader in the National League. And finally, your National League average leader was Charlie Blackmon of the Colorado Rockies. He finished the season batting .331.
So yeah, with that being said, I cannot wait for the playoffs to get started. Here are my bold predictions, let's say. In the American League, I like Cleveland. I really do. I think it doesn't, like, I expect the Yankees to get by Minnesota, and I expect them to be taken out by Cleveland. I expect the winner of Boston and Houston to be also dethroned by the Cleveland Indians, and I expect to see them in the World Series again. And this time, they will not falter. The Cleveland Indians are going to win the World Series. Now, over in the National League, in the National League wildcard game, you have the Colorado Rockies and the Arizona Diamondbacks. I like the Diamondbacks to come out of that one. I also like them to upset the Los Angeles Dodgers. You heard me right. They had the best record in the majors this year. At 104-58, they will be dethroned by the Arizona Diamondbacks. Then they will go on to face off against the Washington Nationals, who will defeat the Chicago Cubs, the defending champs, in the first round of the NLDS. Thus, you have a Nationals versus Diamondbacks. You have a championship series. I expect the Nationals to come out on top. It'll be the Nationals and the Indians in the World Series, with the Indians coming out on top. Bold prediction for the Major League Baseball playoff story. This has been Andrew Rogers for the MLB Report. We'll be right back after this. Stick around, folks. You are watching TST Total Sports Talk. Everybody, Andrew Rogers here for TST Total Sports Talk. Thank you very much for joining me, and I hope you have really genuinely enjoyed this episode of TST Total Sports Talk. I know I have. I enjoy putting it together, and I enjoy uploading it for your viewing pleasure. It's time now for the TST Sports Movie Pick of the Week. This week, the TST Total Sports Talk Sports Movie Pick of the Week is Mystery Alaska. Mystery Alaska was released in theaters in 1999. It starred Russell Crowe, Hank Azaria, and Burt Reynolds, among others. This comedy is about the residents of a small town of Mystery, Alaska, who get overexcited when their hockey team gets chosen to host a televised event. A magazine article that comes out says that they rival any team in the National Hockey League, and the New York Rangers come calling. This movie is a wonderful movie. Russell Crowe is at his finest, and a great role that is played by Burt Reynolds.
I'm not beaten. We're in this game. Anybody here tired? No. Anybody tired? No, Sonny. Not tired. Holt? I'm just warming up, Sheriff. Connor?
I'm ready, John.
Bertie, you with us?
Yep.
Good. Because the Rangers are starting to breathe through their mouths. The strides are getting shorter. Do not give these guys too much respect. They didn't pull a dog sled, did they?
No.
Didn't skate the river, did they?
No.
Forget about that out there. That's still black ice. This is our pond.
You're goddamn right. That's right.
Phoebe's right. We got to take it to these guys.
Take it to him, guys.
10%, guys.
Let's go. Give him any. Let's take it.
Heads up.
Let's take it.
Mystery Alaska, the TST Total Sports Movie Pick of the Week, released in 1999. Mystery Alaska is our sports movie pick of the week, released in 1999, starring Russell Crowe. Unbelievable sports movie for everybody involved. I really think this is a great family movie, and if you do happen to catch it, put it on this weekend. Thanksgiving is the weekend, and it's the Canadian Thanksgiving at least. American Thanksgiving's not until sometime in November, but Canadian Thanksgiving. It's a long weekend, and I hope everybody stays safe this week, and I hope everybody enjoys their long weekend. Commentators clothing provided by Vistaprint. For all your custom apparel, go to vistaprint.ca for more. Browse through all their products. They have a phenomenal selection, and their products are fantastic. I've had nothing but good things when it comes to ordering from them, and I do strongly recommend them. But they made these shirts, and they turned out really well. So Vistaprint.ca for more information there. Select and see what is interesting for you guys. This has been TST Total Sports Talk, Season 2, Episode 4. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Andrew Rogers reminding you, as always, to keep your head up and keep your stick on the ice, and we'll see you again. By the way, one more thing. It was brought to my attention that Red Green used to use the slogan, keep your stick on the ice, at the end of every single Red Green episode. You know what? I don't know how I ended up letting that slip through the cracks, and not knowing that that was the same thing I was doing. Like, it's not necessarily the same because I put keep your head up at the beginning. In no way, shape, or form am I trying to steal from Red Green. In no way, shape, or form am I trying to rip it off. And in no way, shape, or form am I trying to steal it from him. Now, also, in no way, shape, or form am I doing it as a paid homage to him, although I have nothing but respect. This is just simply something I put together and ran with it. So that's my slogan. Keep your head up and keep your stick on the ice, and we'll see you again next week for TST Total Sports Talk.